Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Inside the RC. Guys, even though it is the off season, there's been a lot of rumblings around St. Bonaventure, around campus. Bonnies have a new head coach. Bonnies have had a couple players take visits here, official visits. So we got a lot to talk about this episode. But as always, Curtis right here with me. But Curtis, the first thing we have to talk about is Mike Macdonald. The former Bonnie alum, class of 88, is back at his alma mater, where it all started. What are your thoughts on the hire?
I think it was expected. I think a lot of the Bonnie community expected Mac McDonald to be the hire. It was more of a safe option, I think, but it could turn out to be the correct option. Like we had mentioned in our previous episode, he has great success at Damon, um, and hopefully he can translate that success to the Division One level here at St. Bonaventure. But there's no doubt in my mind that he is a great coach. I'm just not 100% sure how he's going to do in this NIL era because he didn't have too much of a struggle with it in D2. He did have to worry about retention of players and limited scholarships, but it's a completely different ballgame from the D2 level to this D1 NIL.
Yeah, I agree completely. McDonald definitely seems to be a fan favorite. When President Jeff Gingrich and Bob Beretta were talking at the introductory press conference last week about McDonald, you can see they both love him. They both said there was a couple qualities they were looking for in who they wanted to be the next leader of the basketball team, and McDonald checked all those boxes. And obviously, that's what you want to see as a fan, as a player. That's what you want. McDonald stressed a lot how he wants to build a community, build something that guys want to stay here for. Because as we know, in the transfer portal era, it's impossible to retain players. So if he can build something off the jump that makes players want to stay, that would be great. And they asked McDonald a simple question. They asked him why this job? Why'd you pick it? His answer was very simple: because it's Bonaventure. He knows what the school is. He knows what the fans expect. We have high expectations for the basketball team, for the program, and he's willing to deliver. And I respect the hell out of him for that. Honestly, I love that.
Yeah. In his introductory press conference, he was talking about his time at Canisius over 20 years ago. And he said that the St. Joseph's coach reached out to him and talked about how St. Bonaventure was one of those best jobs in the A10, not because of the budget, not because of the recruiting, but because of the community. The community cares about basketball. Olean is a basketball centered community, and it's all centered around this men's Bonnie's basketball team. And that's still true. And Coach Max saw it. That played a huge role in his decision to come back to Bonaventure to coach these boys.
I agree. And while he might be coming to Bonaventure from Damon, there also might be a couple other guys joining him today this weekend on campus. Damon's Ben Bill, who was the Player of the Year for their conference. I don't know the name of it off the top of my head, but he was like their Player of the Year, the best. And Zach Filikowski, something like that. Guard, great 3-point shooter. They were both on official visits this weekend to St. Bonaventure. Do not be surprised to see a commitment here in the next, honestly, day or so, because they did their visit. I don't know. I doubt they'd have really any other D1 traction that would be better than this. Play for your coach. They love Mac, obviously. Everyone seems to. And yeah, I think that'd be great. And also, they had another official visit from. Do you have his name? What the assistant coach we just hired?
It was Iqbar Wahid.
Yeah,
His son
yeah.
comes in. We hired him as a head coach, and then his son has the same name, comes in as a visit. This could be a huge guy. He's from Boston College, didn't play. He was redshirt his first year, didn't play at all this second year. So he's coming in. He has a couple years of eligibility left, and he could be a huge player. He was a great recruit out of high school. We haven't been able to see anything from him in college basketball, but I think he's a guy that could fit right into this Bonnie's basketball team.
Yeah, and going off the point I said about McDonald wanting to be able to retain players, this is a great place to start. Start with two guys who you've coached before and they played for you for multiple years, and start with a guy who's the son of your assistant coach. Great start in the transfer portal. Obviously, that's not going to be enough. They're going to need to go out there and get a couple Power Five guys, hopefully, and just build a good roster around what we have. Because it seems to be at this point that we know what we have. We know who's staying and who's going. Pretty much the entire starting lineup is leaving, and pretty much most of the bench is staying.
Yeah.
A lot of all the international guys, Big Joe staying, and I think honestly it's a solid core to build around. These guys, a lot of them were at the Mike McDonald press conference as well, which is great to see. They're supporting their new coach, And it seemed like the crowd liked McDonald too, which is a big part of it. He was cracking jokes, people were laughing a little bit. You want that in a coach. You don't want a guy that's just so strict and you can't even crack a joke with him. So it was good to see that.
Mhm. He's also been active around campus. He was telling people at the presser to go to the baseball game that day. He introduced himself and did the student broadcasters first. Like they asked questions first.
Cool.
Class act for McDonald's. But I've seen him around campus. I've seen him at a couple of the baseball games. So he's making himself a presence here at Bonaventure, showing the students, the families, the whole community that he's in this because it's Bonaventure, like he said countless times throughout his presser.
Yeah, and that's the main reason I think they hired him. They knew Bob Beretta, Woj, and Jeff Gingrich. They knew they needed to get a good hire here because if
Mhm.
this was a bad hire, there was already a lot of kind of smoke building up, and if they got a bad hire, it was going to explode in flames.
Yeah.
So this is a good, safe hire. It's a guy who people like. He's like you said, active around the community, and I'm just hoping it'll all work out in the end. I think it will. But now we have to talk about this transfer portal and all the bodies that are now in it and the rules. There might be some bodies that have more years that we don't know about. So why don't you give us a little rundown on that?
Yeah, so we don't really like to mix politics and sports, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we have to. And just a couple of weeks ago, President Trump signed an executive order targeting NCAA eligibility and the transfer portal. He wants to limit players to 5 years, 5 seasons, and he wants to make it so that there can only transfer one time, which I think would be great for the A10. The A10 commissioner released a statement where they said it would be great for the A10. Would be a great move for college basketball. I don't know if it's enforceable, but it would be great to see. It's a big step in the right direction. The NCAA was talking about this executive order from Trump, and they seemed to be all for it. But now the problem is, how can we legally enforce this 5 year limit or this transfer limit? Because right now, it's lost. There's no order, there's no law guarding the land. Guys can leave, guys can stop playing on a team whenever they want and hit the transfer portal. Pro players can come and play. People who were drafted to the
It's
NBA
nuts.
can come back and play college basketball. It's madness right now. And this is a move in the right direction. I still think we're a far way off from this ever becoming anything,
Yeah.
but this is the step we needed.
Yeah, and going off of that, what does this mean for Bonaventure? So obviously, Frank Mitchell, one of the best players, you could argue the best player on Bonaventure's basketball team this past season. He enters the transfer portal. A lot of fans thought he'd be done after this season, but he had a year of JUCO ball up in Canada at Humbler, which is a JUCO college up in Canada. He's going to try to get that year back, similar to what Melvin Council did last year, where he got the year of eligibility and he had a great year at Kansas this year. So Frank Mitchell is going to try to get that year back and play, I'd assume, at a Power Five level. I mean, he had a great season. He could definitely get Power Five interest. And there was a similar A10 big man today, Miles Rubin from Loyola Chicago. He's playing at Tennessee now. I mean, that's big time for a Loyola Chicago guy who was on not a very good team this year, but great to see for Miles Rubin. But it also brings up the question about Caden Charles. Caden Charles, you could argue, not argue, honestly, I think it's a fact. He was a glue guy for the Bonnies this
100%.
season. Always there when you needed him, made clutch bucket after clutch bucket. And it sucked how the season ended, especially for Caden Charles. Missed 3 clutch free throws, and you thought something was up with his hand. He was wincing a little bit, and you felt for the kid. You felt for him. But Caden Charles is another guy who could get an extra year. And in his thank you Instagram post to St. Bonaventure, he said, "quote to the Olean Allegheny community and Bona Nation / alumni, including Coach McDonald. Thank you for embracing me, supporting me, and making this place feel like home. The love and energy you gave me every day never went unnoticed." Shouting out Coach McDonald in his thank you speech, who was not yet the Bonnie coach at this time. This is big time. I mean, a lot of people might not have thought anything of this at the time. This is big time right here. Caden Charles was a great player last year, played with 110% effort the whole time, always was diving on the floor. That play against Youngstown State, we always talk about losing his shoe, taking charges. I mean, the epitome of what you want on a basketball team. And I think Mike McDonald would love to have a guy like that on his squad next year.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that all goes. With the eligibility right now, that would be impossible for him. But if this Trump executive order is able to stand, or the NCAA is granting players their 5th year because of this executive order. That would be a great addition if the Bonnies could keep him. There's already that connection. Charles was a D2 guy. McDonald's supposedly put the Bonnies onto him, put Woj
Yeah.
onto Caden Charles. There's already this relationship we see, and Charles hasn't even been coached by Mike McDonald. I think he would love the opportunity, and McDonald would love the opportunity to have him back. All of St. Bonaventure would love to have Caden Charles back. He was a great part of our team, and if somehow he's able to be granted a 5th year, he would be an insane keep for the Bonnies.
Yeah, I agree. He, like we said, one of the most impactful players on the court last year for the Bonnies. There's a reason he played upwards of the most minutes on the team. He would not. I think the most points he had all season was maybe 20, 21 or something. He was not a point scorer. He was a dive on the floor for loose balls, get rebounds at 6'3" kind of guy. But also, quick, I want to touch on. We talked about getting Akbar Wahid as one of the assistant coaches. He is a great ad. 15 plus years as a D1 assistant. He was at Boston College, at Hofstra, Georgetown, and he was an NBA scout. So, I mean, that's great to have. And also, the Bonnies have brought in Clive Bentic from Monmouth, 20 plus year D1 assistant, and 15 at St. Francis, which is really good. And he's a strong developer and just widely known as a great assistant coach around the nation. And they also brought in Nick Fruscio. Might have butchered that, but he's a Damon guy as well, coming over with Mike McDonald. You assume he'll bring a couple guys from his staff. So honestly, this staff is shaping up to be a very good staff so far, and that means a lot. That means a lot. As much as people might not think it's like, oh, it's just the head coach, the assistants don't matter. The assistants matter a lot. There's not a good team that does not have good assistant coaches, and there's a reason the best assistant coaches become some of the best head coaches.
100%. On Woj's show, the program, they were talking about this makeup of sports teams in college sports, and 80% of the team success, they were saying, is based off of the roster, but that other 20% is based off of those things you can't really measure, like the coaches, the random injuries that might happen. But I feel like right now we've capitalized that 20% with the coaches. We've made some great hires, great additions, and hopefully with freeing up so much space with the NIL budget by getting rid of that huge salary Schmidt was making and bring in this cheaper McDonald's, that 80%. Maybe we can go after and get another high market transfer portal guy. Maybe we can get, instead of just a Buddy Simmons and a Frank Mitchell, maybe we could get a third guy.
Yeah, that'd be great, because there's a bunch of guys that the Bonnies have shown interest in so far up to this point. The most recent one that I saw was a couple days ago, Jaden Forsythe from West Virginia transfer. But his list, it's this whole transfer portal thing. It baffles me. Like, this guy's list of schools that he's heard from. There's 15 schools on this list. It's insane how out of hand this has gotten. But St. Bonaventure is honestly one of the top schools that I'm seeing on this list. George Washington and LaSalle fellow 10 schools in there, along with High Point, Hofstra, and a bunch of other schools as well. And there's a couple other guys too. A Western Carolina transfer, Talon Petway. This guy has a huge list. Curtis, you're looking at this with me right now. That's probably about 30 teams right there. Bonnies are right in the middle of it, along with some high major schools like Seton Hall, Vanderbilt, Drake's up there, Rhode Island. So again, with these guys, it's so hard to gauge until you see that they're taking visits. Once guys start taking visits, that's when it gets pretty serious. Guys don't take many visits. They maybe one or two, but that's why I'm not saying these guys are committed yet. I'm not saying Bill, Filkowski, and Wahid. I'm not saying they're committed yet. They're not. But these guys just don't take visits for nothing. I remember last year, for example, Buddy Simmons took a visit here. He was committed the next day. Same with Amari Marshall. These guys commit quick. They go on visits to the schools that are really their top two, and then they commit. So, like I said, put post notifications on our Instagram and Twitter, and do not be shocked at all to see these guys commit within the next couple of days.
100%. This transfer portal is just crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if we land none of those guys that were on the list, and we might be the top school on that list, but we might land guys that we weren't even on the radar for. Mm-hmm. These guys are getting interest from a majority of colleges. Any coach would love to have some of these players. Yeah. So they're getting probably spammed in their Instagram DMs, spammed in their emails, their phone numbers, getting calls left and right. But Woj has those connections, maybe he can be able to land us a couple guys that we
Yeah.
couldn't even see coming. And
Yeah.
speaking of Woj, in the McDonald's presser, there was a little bit of talk about how Woj and McDonald's relate coaching and GM relationships going to work. And McDonald's said explicitly that the order of hierarchy is going to be McDonald's at the top and Woj reports to him.
Hmm.
I think that's really great to
That's
clear
how it
up
has to be.
because that's how it has to be. That's how people expected it to be. But with the whole thing with Schmidt coming down, I think a lot of Bona's faithful kind of lost that idea that the coach is actually in charge. And a lot of people started to think that maybe this is Woj's team and that the new coach would just be a puppet. But I think it made it very clear that McDonald's is the coach. McDonald is the person in charge of this program. And Woj is just someone to help. He's not in the power seat.
Yeah, and I love that. That's how it should be. The coach is the coach. Woj is incredible. He's a GM. He's great at recruiting. Helps us get a lot of good players. But at the end of the day, McDonald is higher than him on that hierarchy scale. A guy that's confusing me a little bit is Amari Marshall. I'm looking at one Twitter account. I'm not going to name names. Don't want to put people out there. One Twitter account said that Amari Marshall is entering the transfer portal a couple days ago. I have not seen anything on any official accounts that have said Amari Marshall's entering the transfer portal. So I don't know if he is. I don't know if he isn't. It's very up in the air right now. I would have loved to have Amari Marshall back next year. That's just me. I thought he was a great little addition for the Bonnies last year. It sucked that he got injured. It was really unfortunate for him. But it's just confusing. Like, obviously we'll update you guys as soon as I get an official update. But I'm not reporting it. We're not reporting it until we get official updates. I want to make sure it's legit before we put stuff out there that might not be true. That's why I'm not putting anything out there until we know it's 100% true. And going back to Woj on that same kind of thing you were talking about at the press conference for Mike Macdonald, Woj was sitting in the Riley Center red seats. For those of you that aren't familiar with the Riley Center, most of you probably are. The red seats are up top. They're not at the bottom where everyone else was sitting. They're up in the top, kind of hidden away from everybody. That's where Adrian Wojnarowski was sitting. We're not gonna say too much on that, but do it that as you will. He was sitting away from everybody, kind of didn't really want to be seen, which I get it. Very famous guy, you don't want to be seen, but at the same time, a lot of people thought he might be up at that desk with McDonald and Beretta and Jeff Gingrich answering questions, which he was not. And just interesting. Andrew Nicholson was also there, which was really cool to see. Always good to see Nicholson back on campus. Saw him in the Richter Center too, which was really cool. I mean, just a great guy. Always love to have him back on campus. And like I said earlier, the list of guys that were at the press conference was Joe Grahovic, Andrew Osasui, Braden Jackson, who has since then entered the transfer portal, so he's not staying, Jonik Bodokin, Ilya Irmakov, and Achille Lonati. So I'm not guessing. I'm not gonna bank on this or anything, but those guys that are at that press conference, minus Braden Jackson, I'd be pretty surprised if they entered the transfer portal at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like those guys are going to be here. And I think it's huge. The biggest guy that I think is just a huge keep is Andrew Osasui.
Oh God,
The big man market in the transfer portal this year is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Mitchell is going to go and get a bag somewhere.
Yeah.
It was crucial that we kept Osasui. He could have entered the portal and he would have had interest from Power 5 schools. He could have gone up, but he's staying here, and hopefully he's going to be able to progress, gain more in that defensive game, gain more in that offense, and become a vital contributor to this Bonus team next year.
Yeah, he had games where he almost broke the school record in that game against I believe it was St. Joe's. He had 8 blocks. I mean, as a freshman, that's insane. A raw freshman, 6'9" out of Italy, like that's pretty impressive. And I feel like not enough people talked about it and how huge that's going to be to get him back next year. And I see you have it pulled up right now. If he can get Ben Bill lined up next to him, Ben Bill, a guy who I said has won. I don't know what conference Damon is, but he won Player of the Year for their conference, I believe 2 years in a row, last year and this season. He's a great player. Obviously, D2 to D1 is a jump, yes. But we saw Caden Charles do it last year, and listen to the conversation we're having about Caden Charles now. He's one of our favorite players, hard-nosed guy, gets in there, and that's what these Damon guys are going to do. And that's why I know a lot of times with hirings, people don't love the players following the coach. They're like, stay at the school. But if a coach is that good, the players are going to follow him. And I think that speaks numbers to Mike Macdonald as well. The players would not want to follow him if he wasn't a great coach. He led them to an incredible season this year. They want to keep playing for him. They want to keep winning.
100%. I think Ben Bill and Zach Filipowski, those would be great ads. They guys who know McDonald's system. They know Coach Mack is a winner, and they would be able to set the culture here at Bonaventure. Hopefully, they're able to get around with those core of guys that are staying, and just create a great winning culture that Coach Mack wants to build.
Yeah, I agree definitely. I really hope that they go out in the transfer portal, however, and get other guys like we were talking about. They're going to have a lot more money this time around than when they did with Schmidt. So go out and get a guy, get a big fish, get a Power 5 guy. Do it. I mean, you got the money to do it. Go do it. Make the fans happy. Make people show up to the Riley Center, because those last couple games in the Riley Center last year were dead. There was nobody there for some games. It sucked to see, honestly, as a fan. You know, you want to see that place packed because it's one of the best. When it's packed, it gets loud in there. You can feel the floor shaking sometimes, but it sucked to see it empty like that. I think that's pretty much all I got. You got anything else?
Yeah, when it's filled, I feel like the Riley Center is the toughest place to play in the A10.
Yeah.
But when it's empty, like it was the past couple of games, it's a joke of a place to play.
Exactly.
Rhode Island came in, and the student section was limited just to the end zone, and it was still a great environment. People booing Jonah Hinton, who he'll be back next year at Rhode Island.
We'll be booing him again.
A lot of the A10, there's not too many teams that were plagued by the transfer portal this year, but Dayton did lose a lot of guys. VCU, St. Louis kept a lot of guys. So we're going to be still seeing a really tough A10 conference next year. And Woj, Mac, and the Bonnies got to make some moves in the transfer portal if they want to be competitive this year in A10 conference play.
Yeah, definitely. And I think they will be able to. And McDonald knows what kind of guys he's looking for. He knows what's helped him win before. I've heard people say he's very much X's and O's coach. He loves to run zone defense. That'd be something that would fire up the student section. A little zone defense, get a stop early in the game. A press defense, get a stop early in the game, or go into a zone at the half court. I mean, that would fire a student section up right there. That's great stuff. But yeah, there's only so much we can say. Only time will tell how good McDonald will be. We will obviously update you guys with commitments and stuff like that. Right as of right now at 8:00 at night on Sunday, April 12th. No one has committed yet to Bonaventure. Besides, no one officially is committed. But we will let you guys know as soon as we hear something. But yeah, that's about it, gang.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for watching the video or listening on Spotify, whatever you're doing. Hope everybody enjoys. Like I said, we'll be back with commitments, stuff like that. If any news breaks, we'll be here. Make sure you have post notifications on Instagram and Twitter at Inside the RC. And yeah, hope everybody enjoyed the video. Go Bonnies.
To anyone who can truly say that they have found a better way, yeah. I'd like to thank Jerry Reed for this next guitar lick. Thank you, Jerry. This one. Southern skies, have you ever noticed southern skies? Yes. Well, this precious beauty lies just beyond the eye. It goes running through your soul like a stone.